Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. We come back after a day's break, so we have a lot to catch up on, right? But first up, as always, let's take a look at the Asian markets, largely mixed. Remember, Wall Street, it did recover from the lows, but ended flat in yesterday's trading session. So we have mixed cues coming in from the Asian markets. The Taiwanese index is up 0.3%. However, we have Hang Seng, which is in the red, down 0.5%. Kospi 2 is up 1.5%. Nikkei is higher. So it's largely on the higher side. But if we look at the SGX Nifty and compare it with Nifty futures, because we did not trade yesterday, at the outset, it looked like SGX Nifty is indicating a start in the green. But if we compare it with Nifty futures, it will be a decline. If we look at it, around 150 points is what the SGX Nifty is indicating. So could be a day in the red, in line with what the global markets are suggesting. Staying with Asia and emerging markets, let us get you some important opinion coming in from Morgan Stanley's Jonathan Garner and what he had to say.
Clearly, at the global macro level, there's a lot of things to debate, including the path of the US dollar and global real interest rates. But in our area, EM equities, we are outstandingly cheap. We're trading on one of the lowest forward PEs ever at around 10.0. That's actually below the valuation trough of the COVID recession, which clearly was a very significant event, and actually only a half a forward PE above the trough in the Asia crisis, which I also covered. So we're at very distressed valuations, very oversold. And there's some signs already of healing in the leading edge of EM, i.e. in Korea and Taiwan.
Okay, that is some expert opinion coming in. Just a correction, I made a mistake. It is a 150-point uptick in SGX Nifty if we compare it with the Nifty futures. So that is the rate that you should be looking at. SGX Nifty at 17,439 versus Nifty futures of 17,293. So it will be in the green today is what SGX Nifty is indicating. Let's talk about the US markets now. Wall Street ended Wednesday's trading session, snapping a massive two-day rally with the Dow Jones 42 points lower, the S&P 500 down 7 points, and the nasdaq composite slipping 27 points. Stock futures, though, ended higher. CNBC's Bertha Coombs gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
It looked like Wall Street would be heading for a third straight day of gains as we saw a pretty nice bounce from last week's 2022 lows, but a late rally fizzled, and the major averages ended the day with small losses. The Dow ended down more than 0.1%, the S&P with a loss of 0.2%, and the NASDAQ falling about 0.25%. Despite Washington's call for OPEC to keep pumping oil, OPEC and its allies have agreed to cut oil production by 2 million barrels a day in response to the steep decline in crude prices that we've seen in recent months. Now, the actual cut is likely about half that, given some producers really haven't been hitting their official targets, but it was still enough to send crude higher today, with WTI at about $88 a barrel, and that could feed into higher prices at the pump, which is not going to help the fight against inflation. That's the action from the U.S. market. Now back over to you in Mumbai.
Okay, that is all the action coming in from the U.S. markets. In fact, let us get you some important market opinion coming in from Ed Yardeni of Yardeni Research.
They are trying to catch up to the inflation curve, but they've done quite a bit. I mean, since March, we've had 300 basis points in increases in the Fed funds rate. And I think what the Fed is really not paying enough attention to is that the strong dollar and QT2, this quantitative tightening program they're on, they're equivalent to probably 50 basis points each. So I think there's, when you look at the whole package of monetary tightening, they've already done quite a bit. And I think it would make sense for them to do maybe one more 75 basis point hike in early November, but then pause and just see how this whole thing plays out.
Okay, with that, we move on to the final update on our global market wrap. European markets also ended lower on Wednesday, with the French CAC over 50 points lower, the German DAX sliding over 1%, and the British FTSE closing over 30 points lower. The British pound was under pressure after UK Prime Minister Liz Truss said cutting taxes were the right thing to do morally and economically, doubling down on her debt-funded economic reforms. Business activity in the Eurozone contracted more than expected, signaling a recession.